the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Filling up, fans are coming. Diego Pavia has got a lot of he's got a lot of juice, man. Like he has, like we talked about last week, he has exactly what you need to be Vanderbilt's quarterback. You have to have a chip on your shoulder and really be fearless because you're going into battle understaffed here in the SEC and everything. And look, man, they're fun. They're throwing reverse touchdowns and I don't know. Vanderbilt's I'm not saying Vanderbilt's going bowling or they're challenging the SEC. Vanderbilt's offense is fun. And I think that has real staying power this fall. Well, let's dive into Tennessee here, Matt Green. So one of my other locks of the week, where I talked to when I was asked all week long, I wrote about it extensively over there at TPL Tennessee, and everything I thought about this game, I just could not shake the feeling where some people like overthought it, I think nationally, because it's like NC State quality program, top 25 program.
Is there anyone picking NC State?
I think everyone on game day picked Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. But yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't read every single projection and pick, but the big ones I didn't see anyone picking NC State. But I did see a lot of people thinking NC State was going to keep this close. And I dropped in the family group chat and we talked about it in the pod where I think I said, this just reminds me of Georgia Clemson last week. And the reason I said that, I was like, I think Tennessee, first road test for Nico. I think I picked in my three it's unbelievable. I think I watch and study too much Tennessee football because in my three things I expect, I was like, one of them was like, I think Nico throws his first pick in this game. NC State has been top 4 in interceptions as a unit the last 2 years. They're aggressive, physical, and they actually won out wide throughout this game. Like Tennessee's receivers were not able to really get open. Chris Brazel had a couple catches in the first drive, and then he was just shut down the rest of the way. Dante Thornton, who had 2 touchdowns last week, he doesn't get a catch in this game. Brew missed a couple deep shots, couple close ones, but this was mostly tight ends. Like Tennessee with Dylan Sampson, who has become an absolute star for Tennessee. Tennessee ran the ball all over NC State and just controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides. But that was like what I thought was, I just don't see Tennessee is going to win. And this was something that folks saw on national television last night. Tennessee has a defensive line now that reminds folks of the peak Georgia and Alabama defensive lines.
Where here we go.
Joshua Josephs, James Pierce, Bryson Eason, Amari Thomas, Omar Lott flashed in a big way in this game.
How many first round picks are on that defensive line? You're just talking about peak Georgia and peak Alabama.
Okay, I'm saying
4 and 5.
Jordan Ross's future. I think Joshua Josephs has a chance. Interior guys are harder to go in the first round. David Hobbs, we'll see. He's younger where he gets to. I think he has that upside as a 5-star interior defensive tackle. Pierce, obviously, first round. Josephs, we'll see. Maybe if he stays around for one more year, he can maybe get there. I don't know. There's several. A lot of drafted is the main thing. But the point is, they're rotating at an obscene clip. And NC State they had that first drive where they drive down the field and they handled the time of possession where NC State had the ball for half of the first quarter on that first drive alone. And then to get no points out of it. They were stuffed and no points. And Tennessee has not given up a defensive touchdown since Vanderbilt last season, Matt Green. So 3 straight games of not giving up a defensive touchdown. Will Brooks changed the game. Walk-on safety has a pick 6 after Tennessee has a field goal to go up 10-3. NC State's driving. You're kind of like, okay, maybe they will hang with the Vols for a little bit longer than what I was thinking. And then pick 6, 17-13, Tennessee ends up 17-3, excuse me, and Tennessee ends up outscoring the Wolfpack 34-7 the rest of the way. But it was just one of those where Nico, his second pick, he got hit in a bad spot and it just went up in the air. That wasn't on him. His first one was a misread. That he thought he could fit it in a tighter window than he could there, and it was a pick, but it's a learning experience. But
That's not his fault.
Huh?
That's not his fault.
No, the first one was, yes. The second one was not. He got hit as he was throwing it, went up in the air. It was just a bad luck thing. But Samson and Iamaleava totaled 408 yards through the air and on the ground. He had an unbelievable quarterback keeper in this one. Heupel unleashed a new awesome celebration on the sideline after one of the Vols touchdowns. That was pretty great. Tennessee's offense didn't have their best day, and they walked into 51 points. Now, after 2 weeks of the college football season, only Mississippi is averaging more points per game this season. Ole Miss and UT are the only two schools in the country to average over 60 points a game through 2 weeks of this young college football season. It's a combination. What should scare everyone about Tennessee right now is their C game offensively was a huge issue last year because the defense was solid, but not great. So you go 9-4. Now you can have a C+, B- offensive game. The defense is an A+. The defensive line is the best defensive line in the country. So you can just get away with some rough showings and making some mistakes, having a pick six, having some issues attacking down the field because they just dominated. 3 sacks in this one, double-digit TFLs. Grayson McCall was running for his life. NC State could not run on Georgia whatsoever. It was another one of those games where, NC State had 28 carries for 39 yards. It's just, they overwhelmed them. Like, Tennessee absolutely overwhelmed one of the best 25 teams in the country and made them look like an FCS school when it was all said and done. Tennessee could have dropped 60-70 on NC State in this game. They left that on the board. If you watch the game, there was an awful downfield offensive lineman downfield call in this one. I don't know if you saw that. Dane Davis, nowhere near where that flag should have been called. And Miles Kitselman had a big 50-yard touchdown from Nico in the middle of the field, and that didn't happen. But the linebacker play, Tennessee's tackled better than I've ever seen. Like, Tennessee is at a peak time. There was one play on 4th down where Jamon McCoy is by himself on an island in space, and I believe it was Justin Jolly, the tight end for NC State, late in the game. He gets stopped one-on-one by the corner. Like, it was just, in years past, I don't think Tennessee makes that play. I don't think Tennessee has the dudes out wide to handle this. Arian Carter popped. Keenan Peely, healthy. He's such a dude. He's a 7th-year player. He knows exactly what he's doing in the middle linebacker spot. He's flying around. True freshman Boo Carter at the star spot. He was flying around making plays. Just blue chipper star guy. Like, just, he pops. Eye test superstar for Tennessee. We're like, oh God, this guy's gonna be scary. The next couple of years at Tennessee. It's just, Nico didn't even have his best game, and Tennessee still walked into 50+ points. So I think that should scare a lot of SEC teams, a lot of college football teams as a whole, is that Tennessee's defense is operating at a unbelievable clip, and Nico's already flashing up where Nico's going to figure it out in some ways and continue to get better. The receivers are going to get better, and that it's a problem for opposing defenses. Like, this is a very, very good Tennessee team. They are going to be a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense this year, and if they're all healthy, and that's scary. Like, this Tennessee team is legit, and they're not going to get tested against Kent State this weekend, but you saw Oklahoma struggle. Arkansas couldn't get out of their own way. We'll talk about them in a second. But, man, suddenly this schedule looks really nice for Tennessee here. Alabama on the ropes against USF. I don't know, man. Ole Miss and Tennessee are not playing with their food through 2 weeks, and they've certainly made a statement.
I'm not even talking about Ole Miss. Their season essentially hasn't even started as far as I'm concerned. Let the overreaction season begin, sir. This is what it was all about. Like, people go nuts after Chattanooga. I'm just like, I'm not going to hear it. Like, it's Chattanooga. This was a really impressive performance by Tennessee, putting up a 50 spot against NC State. Obviously, the defense, where they have 140 total yards, NC State in this game. That was the most impressive part of this game. I'm not really sure what happened to NC State after that pick six, because this was a competitive game for almost 2 quarters, right? Like, they were going down in the red zone, like, maybe make it 10-10, but at worst make it 10-6 and get a field goal. And then after that pick six, this team did nothing, like the entire rest of the game for the most part. But this is why I just want to pump the brakes on Nico. Like, this Tennessee team looks like a clear college football playoff contender, right? I think that's obvious. They might be a contender to win the SEC right now. But it's like, Nico is still a first-year starter, and he wasn't just like incredible. Like, I'm watching this game expecting, okay, is this gonna be the greatest quarterback I've ever seen play football with how people have been talking? And it's like, no, this guy's not the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. He's a super talented dual threat quarterback that's got a rocket arm. Like, yeah, Tennessee looks really talented offensively. especially with the run game. I thought looked even more impressive than Nico in this one too. But it's like let's just pump the brakes, because I hate that, like, I'm not just watching Nico and just being like, oh, dude, Tennessee's got a stud, because I'm watching Nico to like combat all this, like anointing him as like the next Bryce Young and this great player, 6'7" Bryce Young or something. Like, we just all need to pump the brakes. Let's just take it for what it is. This guy looks like he's going to be a great quarterback, but right now he doesn't look like the best quarterback in college football to me. Like, I mean, it's 2 games. He could be after 12, 13 games, but it's like, let's just enjoy the ride and not just have to anoint him before he's done it.
I don't know, man. Nico was still really good in this game, and one of the throws, like I talked about the interception, I obviously went back. He had a great attitude and post gamer about it. I don't know, man. That dude is just an assassin. And
I mean, do you think that was the greatest quarterback performance you've ever seen? He's playing NC State.
No, I'm not saying
They're
that.
not a good team. They're fine. Like, this is a good win. But NC State's nothing like impressive.
I mean, NC State was preseason. They were getting ACC champ buzz before the season.
I mean, yeah, you saw what Georgia did to Clemson a week ago. Like, I think we all agree Clemson is probably a much better team than NC State. Year in, year out, they're a much more consistent program. Like, I'm not saying, and they obviously scored more points in this game than Georgia did versus Clemson, but I don't know. That's what I'm calling an overreaction season, because like, let's not pretend NC State was some sort of like powerhouse program. Like, this is not Chattanooga. This is a good win. Don't get me wrong. I was really impressed by the defense, like I said, but let's just enjoy the process with Tennessee. Let's take it week by week.
I just feel vindicated in the defense thing, where I just think this defensive line is just going to win Tennessee games. Like, it's just going to will them, where they just have so many dudes. And it just overwhelms team. Like, and that's part of what happened with Georgia and Clemson. It's like Georgia's dudes up front eventually just wore down Clemson. And Tennessee is recruited well enough. They are developing well enough that they are going to wear down a lot of people this season, because they just don't stop. Like, this is a physical, aggressive, nasty defense. Like, they hit. Like, this defense tackles well, they hit hard, and they're fearless. Like, they just don't stop coming. And I don't know. I can't say enough positive things about this Tennessee defense and where they're at going into.
Oh, I know you can't. I know you'd go all day, but
I could go all day.
And I'm not trying to just be Debbie Downer, although I do think it's partly my role on this podcast to bring things back down. But also, Grayson McCall just doesn't look very good at all.
No,
like, to be honest, like he looks like a G5 quarterback, and I don't know. It's this NC State offense, like, as good as Tennessee's defense played, I don't know. They don't look too hot. I'm curious to see what they do against ACC competition this year.
Isn't it funny? You just don't know how these guys are gonna. A lot of these transfer quarterbacks, you look across the board. Peyton Thorne, bad. Riley Leonard,
yeah.
rough.
Cam Warren comes from Incarnate Word, and he's a superstar. Like,
it's such
McCall is a superstar at Coastal Carolina. Looks below average at NC State.
It's just such a roll of the dice. Like, you have no idea what you're getting in these transfer quarterbacks. Really anywhere. Notre Dame, Matt Green, upset at home. Thomas Hammock and the Northern Illinois Huskies go into South Bend, and what say you about what happened in Notre Dame on Saturday afternoon?
Man, I'm on and off the hype train in 1 week, sir. For one, we can wait to get into this. What does it say about Texas A&M? Because I felt like I was watching. It felt like that. You remember that Texas Notre Dame game? Oh man, I want to say it was like 10 years ago at this point. I think Joe Tess hit the Texas's back line in that game, and both of those teams ended up like missing bowl games, I think, that season. It's like you felt like you were watching a big time college football game. I was like, oh no, it turns out both these teams are garbage.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.